Well, I think if an individual point of view, it can be harmful if we live our life imagining that everything's going to go wrong all the time, or we get stuck in a loop over something. And I know I'm guilty of it. I know most of us are guilty of it. I know I do it over certain things. It's not pleasant. It's not pleasant because it causes you to feel stressed, discomfort. It can cause you to feel depressed.
The question is from Thinking Focus.
Hi, I'm Graham from Thinking Focus.
Hi, I'm Rich from Thinking Focus.
And this is number 3 in a podcast series where we explore common thinking errors. We all have these from time to time, perfectly normal. Most of the time we make these mistakes in our thinking, but everything turns out fine. Sometimes these thinking errors can get in our way though. They can cause us to be unsuccessful or even cause us harm. And in today's podcast, we're talking about catastrophising. So, Rich, the question is, why do we often assume the worst case scenario?
Well, I think catastrophising is probably one of those thinking errors that lots of people have heard about. It might even be the most famous.
Is that like a rank of them? So why is it number 3 in the podcast?
I think it might be. We should have started with it. But mind you, if we did, it might all have gone wrong. I think why do we do it? Why do we assume the worst case scenario? I suppose there's an evolutionary shortcut here with this one, in that we often protect ourselves, or we aim to protect ourselves by assuming the worst will happen.
Right, yeah.
We kind of go, if I assume it'll be really bad and then it's better, then that'll be good because at least I'm prepared for the worst.
Is that like that bush is rustling over there, there's a tiger in it, it's going to eat me, so therefore I'll avoid it. That type stuff. Yeah. And that it's an evolutionary advantage. We've evolved because people had seen a tribe member get eaten by that tiger. They had seen a tiger.
And then when they heard a rustle in the bush, did catastrophise. Oh my God, it could be a tiger, when actually it's just a robin.
It's just Russell.
Yeah, it could be Russell if he's still in there, because that is how he got his name, isn't it? But it could just be a robin, but I've catastrophised, I've run away, but I survived.
Yeah.
So, with thinking errors that we make, they can be helpful, because that is helpful, isn't it, that you've survived. What's not helpful is in everyday life or in the business world when we catastrophize. I've lost a sale, for example, or we lost an account, which means I'm not going to hit my target, which means actually they might sack me, which means, how am I going to pay the mortgage? Which means we're living on the street, my wife leaves me, the kids hate me. So we make catastrophizing.
That's number 4.
That's a different one. I can't say it.
Catastrophising.
Thank you. Means we make big leaps in our thinking, which, if we dwell on that end point too long, can be really quite harmful, because we start to live as if that thing is real and that thing is happening.
Yeah, and just I guess with most of these, some people do it more than others, or do we all do it?
Everybody does it. Everyone is guilty of thinking errors, but some people may get into a loop of doing,
this
catastrophising, or others, but with this one, more than other people, which can cause discomfort. So, so why do we get into a loop? We get into a loop because actually your brain has handed you a pattern of thinking. Something's happened. Yeah. It's handed you a pattern to run. It doesn't know whether that's helpful or not. It just knows it's something that we do, and you do it and you get stuck in it. Yeah,
and I think that example you use, we see it a lot, don't we, when people are going through change, and quite commonly change might mean restructuring. And if the messaging's not clear about what's going on, you do see that a lot in organisations, don't you, where it's, all this change coming on, they've used the restructure word, that must mean that people are going to lose their jobs. It's probably going to me that loses my job. And then that spiral that you talked about.
And what you're talking about there may well come for someone from past experience. Yeah. So it could be, and I can relate to that one. It could be not even your past experience, but it could be a relative's, it could be a friend's, where something like that has happened. You've seen them struggle, and it was caused them difficulty, and you catastrophised to the end point of what that could mean for you. So trauma, whether it be big T trauma or small t trauma, or failure, past experiences that make you feel vulnerable, all those things can cause us to catastrophize.
Yeah. So in terms of, it's expecting the worst case scenario or imagining the worst case scenario is what we're talking about.
Yeah.
We've used a couple of examples of, I've lost a sale or in restructuring. Where else might this turn up then day to day?
Well, it could turn up in all kinds of things, you one of your children maybe gets the GCSE results and they're not what you think they were going to be. Yeah. So you catastrophize, well, he or she won't get into the college they wanted. That means that, they're probably then going to struggle to get into university, which means they'll never get a job, which means they're going to live here till they're 50.
Which is the worst case scenario. Yeah. That's not back then, though, is it?
So, but, it could show up like that. It could show up in more painful ways, depending on what may have happened in a relationship, for example. You could get something that said, I made a meal for my partner. It wasn't as they wanted it. Oh, my God, they're going to leave me. I'm going to be on my own.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That might sound extreme, but these things happen in people's heads.
Yeah, and the one that swings to mind for me is that when you go, there's something wrong with me, I'll Google it.
Well, yeah, which will always say, ring NHS Direct or go immediately.
Or you're going to die.
Or go immediately to A&E. Yeah. Absolutely, yeah. But I suppose that is my son, one of my sons many years ago, got a concussion playing football, came home from football, started complaining of headache, he was sort of a bit dopey, more dopey than normal. Took him to hospital. Just as we got to hospital, he threw up. Just as we got out of the car at A&E, he threw up. Took him. You're catastrophizing, aren't you?
Yeah.
What is going on here? Now, the logical answer is he's probably concussed.
Yes.
Right? But the thing with thinking errors is, one of the reasons they're an error is because we're actually being irrational. Our emotions are taking over. We're not thinking logically. So therefore, it's not easy to just flip to, okay, let's just be all rational. Yeah. He's probably got concussion. Because he's my son and because I love him, I'm worried, and it causes the thinking error to happen. Now, you may have come along as my...
Dr. Field.
That's my doctor, yes, Dr. Field. You never really qualified though, did you?
It doesn't matter. It's by the by.
You might come along, I was going to say as my friend, but let's say business acquaintance. You may very well come along and actually be able to be rational because you're not as emotionally connected to the situation, which you can help me be calmer and you can help me get through it. But for me at that point, I'm quite emotional and therefore some of my thinking is making errors.
Yeah, and I know we've talked about the emotional rational thinking on previous podcasts. But I think you're right. It's quite, if I think about situations at home sometimes when, my wife comes home and wants to talk about something, there's that, she's from that emotional response and you want to go into that, almost that rational response because you're one step removed, aren't you? From those kind of things. Okay, so if that's kind of where it shows up, why do we need to be kind of mindful of it then, from an individual point of view, or I guess even from a team point of view? I think if an individual point of view, it can be harmful if we live our life imagining that everything's going to go wrong all the time, or we get stuck in a loop over something. And I know I'm guilty of it. I know most of us are guilty of it. I know I do it over certain things. It's not pleasant. It's not pleasant because it causes you to feel stressed, causes you to feel discomfort. It can cause you to feel depressed. It's so from an individual point of view, it's really not pleasant. If you get stuck in a loop of doing something like this. So that's why we should be bothered about it. From a team point of view, actually, just like for an individual, you can start to create a self-fulfilling prophecy that you start to live into. Yeah. If you start saying in a restructure, actually, we're going to be vulnerable as a team, they're going to get rid of us. And actually the team start to think, oh, my God, what does that mean? And their actions then of doing their role on a day-to-day perhaps aren't as good as they might be. And they talk themselves into a place of catastrophe. Yeah. Again, it's unpleasant. It's a discomforting place to be. But also you can start to create a self-fulfilling prophecy because you've lived into a problem that you imagined. Yeah. And it's easy to do. But it ultimately it can be very discomforting and unpleasant. Yeah, so if we recognise we can all do it or do all do it, and there are some kind of challenges, implications, whatever the right word is about that, what can we do about it? I almost said, what can we do to fix it? But it's not fix it, is it?
No.
But what can we do about it?
You can't fix it. You can't stop it. What you can try and do is manage it. And there'll be times when it gets out and it does it. What can you do to manage it? And there'll be times you can feel it's coming and you can manage it more. Yeah. But you have to accept that these thinking errors happen. What can you do? Well, I like we'll talk about it more, but there's a technique used in rational emotive behaviour therapy called REBT. And the technique, it's used in other things as well, but the technique uses three things: utility,
right,
logic, and evidence.
Okay.
So these are three questions that, as a therapist, you can ask to work with someone that you're working with. So utility would be, okay, Graham, so how is this way of thinking helping you live your life to the full on a daily basis? Or, okay, Graham, how is this way of thinking helping you run the business in an effective manner?
Okay.
Or the team or whatever.
Yeah.
So, of course, the answer to that is, well,
it's not.
It's not. It's not.
Yeah.
Okay, so how might we want to think differently then? And that might lead you into one of the others, logic or emotion. So logic would be, all right, let's work through the logic step by step from the beginning of they've announced a restructure through to you now living in a cardboard box.
Yeah.
Let's go through the logic step by step. How have you got from they've announced a restructure to the cardboard box? Yeah. Let's go through the logic. And then what you do, obviously, what the person you're working with would do is to realise there's not a lot of logic.
At some stage, it's not going to go to a cardboard box.
Yeah, it's not a lot of logic. And evidence, which is to say, okay, what is the actual evidence you have here, Graham, that is pointing to you ending in this cardboard box? So that's if you're talking to someone else. Doesn't have to be a therapist.
Yeah.
A friend may ask you very similar questions that say, look, this is really not helping you. What could we do instead?
Yeah.
They may ask a question of, well, hang on a minute, they've announced a restructure. Does that really mean we're going to be in a cardboard box as a family? Or if that's a family member.
Yeah. So that logical bit then is happening to that rational.
Yeah, it's moving you to rational. Or you can ask the questions yourself. And, as I was saying to Ricky in the last, or one of the last podcasts, was an indicator for a lot of this stuff is that you don't feel good. The indicator on the dashboard is I don't feel great.
Yeah.
So why am I feeling angry? Why am I feeling frustrated? Why am I feeling tired? Why am I feeling emotional? If you can step back from that, you can use utility, logic, and evidence to start to help yourself to think. Maybe journal, write that down, write your thoughts down, because that helps us to get more to rational as well.
Yeah, and I think that kind of the evidence side of things, and we, again, it covers probably a number of these thinking areas we're talking about, I guess. But in a number of situations we're with, when you're coaching or whatever it might be, quite often when you start to ask those kind of questions and tap into that more logical, rational side of things, and you look for evidence, the evidence isn't there, is it? It's stuff we've made up, stuff we've catastrophized.
But if there is some evidence that there's a real problem, then that can move us into action. So if you were to say, there's some evidence that the restructure is happening, there is some evidence because I've been told that our department is under review. There is some evidence that the last time they did this, they moved on the people that were in my pay bracket, whatever. Yeah. There is some evidence. Then we can then start to say, okay, so what do I need to do?
Yeah.
So we move to action. What do I need to do? What's my plan?
Yeah.
So my plan might be, okay, I need to start brushing my CV off. I need to go and attend one of Graham's sessions on how to write an excellent CV that you run. I need to move to action. Yeah. And often we feel happier when we're taking action and we're doing something about the problem. Yeah. We're not just dwelling on the problem.
Yeah, and that might be small steps, small goals, small actions rather than something major.
Yeah, so you start to control what you can.
Yeah. Great. Well, I think we've probably covered catastrophizing then, haven't we? Is there anything else you would add?
I think we've probably covered it. And you know what? The studio didn't blow up, did it?
Not yet. We've still got a few more to do.
Could. Yeah. We better get out quick. It's all going to go wrong.
Next time on The Question Is...
Why do we do this? Well, A, they're quite protective. Yeah, if you had to kind of come out of every conversation you had and go, well, let me go into the nuance of that, it'd just be too hard work. Yeah. You'd just be a wreck. And B, it's quick. It's just like you can make big assumptions, and like I say, most of the time you're going to get it right.
To find out how Thinking Focus can unlock the potential within your organisation, go to www.thinkingfocus.com, where you'll discover more about the work we do, helping our clients increase productivity and enable change.